And also, if you could clarify what the process will be on those issues going forward.
Thank you, Councilman Ken Bernstein with the Department of City Planning, along with Claire Bowen. Just to answer your question, the department has begun conducting the analysis as requested by your office and other City Council motions, and conducting review of those proposals. And we are on schedule to bring those back through the process, City Planning Commission and City Council, based on the schedule we outlined to you back in November.
And so what will the process be in terms of which committees it goes to? And
the committee process, of course, is really up to the council. The item before you today went to Plum Committee. Other actions have been heard jointly by Plum Committee and Transportation Committee.
Okay, thank you. And just for the record, until the amendments happen, I intend to vote against the mobility plan in total, as I've been doing. So.
Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and Councilmember Rue. And we'll go ahead and ask the department, as soon as they sit down and they're comfortable, to come back on up to answer some more
Give them a little
questions.
exercise.
Absolutely. It's a mobility plan.
I first want to thank you for all the changes you've made and all the efforts you've been working with my office on. Just wanted to follow up, though, on Councilman Koretz's question. So the proposed amendments will be coming up at the CPC?
That is correct.
Okay. Because I remember at the last meeting, I wanted to include it as an amendment in the motion, but then we were advised by both the department and city attorney's office that you'll take it up in planning, in the CPC. But then, and we again got assurances that it will be taken up and the languages will be changed to address neighborhood concerns. But we've been getting mixed messages. First we're told it's going to happen, then it's not going to happen, then it's going to happen. So is there any kind of assurance that we could get that it will be, the amendments will go through and it will be included?
Councilman, the Claire Bowen, City Planning Department, yes, we've been working very closely with your office to ensure them that the language that it will be inserted in the plan that recognizes the intent of the motion that you introduced in November.
Mm-hmm. So the language that we compromised on with my office and your department will be included? That
is correct.
Okay. So, and I have some reservations, like Councilman Koretz. I have the utmost faith that it will happen, but I have concerns, and I would like to. I'm hesitant to vote on it now. Without the inclusion. So just wanted to state that for the record. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that. I guess just with the exception, though, of that particular question and Councilman Koretz's concern, that many of the other text amendments that were introduced by many of the members of the commission here, or the council here, in August are all included in the document that's in front of you today.
And again, Ken Bernstein, just to clarify, those include the amendments that were of great concern to you, Councilman, related to council oversight, public safety, and equity that you had introduced, Councilman Englander, Councilman Harris-Dawson. Those are all in the amendments with the readoption that is before you today.
Right, and along with Councilman Cedillo's amendments as well, which I very much appreciate. But the specific streets, it seems like some were included, but some weren't. And we even conceded with not necessarily removing the streets, particular streets that are in concern and that are in contention by many of the residents and communities, but to reiterate that there will be community input. There will be a whole reevaluation process within the community, and I feel a little uneasy. You're telling me it's going to be included, but it hasn't been included yet, and I'm just concerned about that because there's specific details that needs to be addressed.
Claire Bowen. There's language in the plan today that's always been there, and then we're putting additional information in that, again, reinforces the role of the networks as conceptual components, and that community engagement and additional design development, environmental review is an important part of the steps going forward. So without calling out specific streets, there is that broader kind of global language that does speak to that in the plan you're voting on today.
Thank you. We'll be working more with your office on that.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
Councilmember Price.
Thank you, Mr. President. I share similar concerns that my colleagues have raised about specific streets that were supposed to be included or excluded. In my situation, Central Avenue, we want it taken out. And my understanding it has not been done yet. I'm getting continued reassurances that it will be. How is that going to work?
Right. So all of I think as we've stated on prior occasions, that all of the network changes that were requested of us did require additional environmental review, and that review is still ongoing, and it'll be in part of the document we take forth to Planning Commission next month.
All right, well, until I see those changes, I'm not prepared to support the plan as it's proposed. I certainly want to continue working with you to ensure that those concerns in the 9th are specifically addressed, and so we'll keep working with you to do that.
Great, we understand that and look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Cedillo.
I share my colleagues' concern for the opportunity to look at the specificity, but I will say to you that I want to thank you. My staff is very pleased with the progress that we've made. The principles of concern for us, the transparency, the civic participation, the prioritization of pedestrian activity, have all been woven into this document, in this fabric. And I believe that as the document, as it is stated, without the routes included, is a fine document prepared to move forward and to guide the city. And so I'm prepared to vote for it. I do, like my colleagues, maintain the same concerns, but I also trust and have faith that we will come back now with those fundamentals in place, come back with an opportunity to make sure that the routes manifest and express the aspirations and the desires of the community. So thank you for your hard work, and thank you for the spirit of collaboration with my office.
Thank you.
Councilmember Huizar.
Thank you. And I just want to get an assurance from the Planning Department that, in fact, all the amendments that were raised will be heard at CPC. So whether we agree or disagree with what the CPC votes on, it's going to come back to Council, and then we will have an opportunity to vote on those amendments again. But if the CPC doesn't hear any of the amendments, we're going to come back to the previous problem that we had, and the basis for the lawsuit, which was that we amended the plan without the CPC hearing those items. So I just want an assurance that all the amendments raised by council members will be agendized at CPC, let it go through the process, and eventually come back to council for our final review. Correct? That's
exactly correct, Councilman.
Okay, so,
thank you.
And my colleagues who have raised concerns about the plan that it does not state the language they would like to see, we're going to have another opportunity when it gets back here to council to then vet what is best for your districts and your input. So we just want to make sure that it goes through that process. We follow the rules and get back those amendments here. The reason we're hearing this again, just to remind us all, is because we made amendments to the plan that required us to send them back to CPC as opposed to us making the final decision. And we're going through that process now, and we'll be back to hear those amendments in the near future, correct?
Correct, except that actually what you're hearing, the document in front of you today does, as Ken Bernstein reiterated, it includes many of those the motions that were acted on last August, as well as a number of additional motions that were introduced in August that we at that point couldn't act on, that we did do additional environmental, and those are all included today. Those are all text-based changes, but again, that address many of the concerns that, again, Councilman Cedillo and Councilman Rue and others have mentioned over time about collaboration, about equity. All those are really reinforced in this document. document, as well as, again, the flexibility that we have in implementing the networks going forward. It's really just the specific network segments that we're talked about that will be part of the next package.
Okay.
All right. Seeing no other speakers on the queue, we'll go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes, 2 noes.
All righty. So that is carried and moves forward. Thank you very much. Okay, we've got another one that doesn't actually change the outcome, so we'll go ahead and record Councilmember Price's vote as a no vote on that as well. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and take the next item, please.
That brings us to item 42, called Special for Cards.
All right, John.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, J. Walsh Confidential. This again is shooting of James Gregory Jackson, identification, and a $50,000 reward. And incidentally, as I told you, I'm adding $1 million to it, $1,050,000. And as you know, they can't pay out these rewards except going through the city council. You'll go back and you'll find that almost none of these rewards are paid out. Practically nothing, because snitches get stitches. The gang will murder you. The gangs who killed this person will murder you if you try to collect a reward. There are hundreds of people who know who murdered this guy, but they're not going to say a damn thing because, look, our gay mayor doesn't run the city. The gangs do.
Wayne.
Now they go down there, only $50,000 to get a conviction for somebody shot in the ghetto, James Gregory Jackson. How can it only be $50,000 to risk your life and be put in witness protection for a lousy $50,000 fucking dollars for a ward? It got to be more money than that, because I know when you go to the ghetto and you got to find your way through and you done point the finger, snitches do get stitches because they be bitches. And you don't want to get no $50,000 because I know H&R Block, and you can blog this award, and it is taxable. So $50,000 after taxes is about $4.49. Now, what can you buy with $4.49? Now, you got to make it more money. Now, we're going to get down there and we're going to get these people caught. You got to get the right of money. $500,000 got to be a minimum settlement, because I know and you know, you can't see my face. We all black here talking today, supporting the Black Lives Matter, but $50,000 done not enough. And it's time that people start paying the right amount of reward, because I don't want to get no $50,000 and pay the $49,900 of taxes and then get myself in witness protection. Because if I'm in witness protection with $4.49, I'm going to have to change my name to some Jew motherfucking name, and I don't want to be like that, because I don't want to be no Jew motherfucker.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Walsh, or Wayne, or whatever your name is. Okay, thank you. Juan. With that, we'll go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 eyes.
All right, next item, please.
Mr. President, that brings us to item 15, called Special for Cards.
John?
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. This is number 15, and this again is an easement. Easements are accommodations to developers. That's what they are. You try to get an easement. You out there, you homeowners, you try to get an easement, you'll spend 8 or 9 or 10 years. Hey, this is one of the least corrupt cities in America, but it's still totally corrupt. That gives you an idea of the other cities, okay? And this is an easement for street purposes on the northeast side. We're going to get rid of all these easements and all these with a initiative that will stop the easements and all this bullshit for the developers of high-rises. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Juan?
I pass. This sucks.
Wayne?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. How do you get an easement? Well, there's 2 ways you get an easement in L.A. City. 1, you bribe the building inspector, or 2, you bribe the building inspector. That's the only way you get an easement in Los Angeles. Now, you compare that to Chicago. There's 2 ways you get an easement in Chicago. You go to the mafia, or 2, you do the bribery of the building inspector. So I think that in
You're not on topic. You're not on topic. Just because you mentioned the word doesn't put you on topic.
Talk about this particular easement, I'm getting to it here, is that I think that it's time for all of the people to get the same kind of easement to make it easy. So you take it easy to get the easement, and you take it easy.
Okay, you're off topic, so that's your final warning. Thank you very much. And with that, we'll go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 eyes.
Thank you. That passes. Next item, please.
That brings us to item 18, called Special for Councilmember Huizar.
Okay, Mr. Huizar.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. Today we hear a piece of policy coming from our Bringing Back Broadway initiative that has been in the making for over 5 years. My staff and I have been working on this very closely with many of the stakeholders in the area. A very dedicated group of people from the downtown community came together in the fall of 2010 to start talking about how to revitalize reactivate many of the underutilized buildings on Broadway. And that discussion led to the incentives allowed in this sign district. The ordinance allows and encourages the kinds of signs that would have been typically present along Broadway during its heyday: neon, blade signs, old-fashioned roof signs. And we purposely did not want to modernize the sign types too much, so that if you look at Broadway in 5 years and blur your eyes a bit, the signs you see could have been there for decades, right along with the architectural gems of buildings that they're on. When we started Bringing Back Broadway, there was a nearly 20% retail vacancy rate on the ground floor and more than 1 million square feet of space in the upper floors just gathering dust. Now that retail vacancy rate is down to between 12 and 15%, and one by one, the upper floors of those beautiful buildings are being brought back to use, either as adaptive use for residential or as creative office space through our commercial reuse policy, or as boutique hotels. We're open to all those uses because the only way to sustain a successful ground floor district is to have activities in the upper floors. I'm very proud of this policy and of everyone who contributed to it. This policy was not easy to develop. It was complicated to get things right. There were lots of long walks up and down the street, measuring, calculating, imagining. Designers and architects got involved to show examples of how things would really look, not just on paper. It was a very collaborative process, and I know it will turn out to be a great success for Broadway. I'm especially pleased that we will all be able to hear this right now, because we are just a few days before the 8th anniversary to kick off our Bringing Back Broadway initiative. And this is another great piece of public policy that is helping us as a city create the public policies that make private investment make sense and that will help create jobs and more retail activity, housing, and bring back our beloved history to this city. I ask for an A vote on this item. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Seeing no other speakers on the queue, we'll go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
All right,
Mr. President?
Yes?
Can we send that forthwith, please?
Without objection.
Can you put on the record a huge thank you to the Planning Department for helping us draft this?
Huge thank you forthwith.
Thank you.
That'll be the order without objection. All righty. We'll add that one to the council rules as well. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and take the next item.
That brings us to item number 1, called Special for Cards.
All right, the first one on 1B is Henry Nazarian. How are you?
I spoke with this gentleman, and I guess we're asking for 2 weeks of continuation. I have documentation that we have paid for the initial permit, so I'm just going to go ahead and provide the documentation to him.
Okay, that's fine. Then we'll go ahead and continue for 2 weeks. That'll take you to January 26th.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's
it?
I'm sorry, that'll take you to February. Yeah, well, that would help. February 3rd.
February 3rd?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's
Thank you.
2 weeks. Right.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. All right, with that, John? Eric?
Are there any other items?
You're up on number 1.
Is there any others in my card? This is my last minute.
This is you're up on number 1.
Are there any other cards?
You're up on number 1, sir.
Okay, fine.
Can you talk, please? Thank you very much. You can pass or speak.
No, I'm going to speak, sir, and
Okay.
I appreciate it. It's
Go
Eric
for it.
Craven from CD2, and no need to clamor for me to come forward, sir. I'm right here.
On the subject, please.
Thank you. Appreciate that. You're disrupting the meeting. Item 1 is once again, sir, we are leaning on the public. That gentleman who was invisible to the viewers at home is in a fake negotiation with the city, where the city is basically just dragging him down here to pay $20 to park, to discuss it, and it's upsetting. It's upsetting because today we had so many items on the agenda. There were like 50 items. I couldn't get at 30 of them, and 7 of them are really interesting. I mean, to the public and to you, presumably, if you had not already previewed them in another setting with Mr. Rue. So I would just simply say I would urge the city to think about doing the liens over at Mr. Cedillo's district office instead of here. It's not appropriate. Thank you.
Wayne?
Now we got liens. Yes, the thievery now begins and ends. That's what they do. They send you liens. How do you get a lien? You get a letter like this. I got that from the Blumenfield master. $660 for something by the Friday. My neighbor pulled the permit on January 6th. But on January 8th, they got to impose a $660 lien after I paid already another $357 inspection. Every single person here has been lynched on this list with bullshit and lies, just like me. All these people are being screwed illegally, screwed by you and your stupid fucking letters. None of these people owe these liens. None of them. You're thieves. Bob Blumenfield is a thief. Fuck him.
Patricia McAllister.
This troubles me that I've counted it up, about 5,000 homeowners, you're denying them their homes by putting these liens on their houses. I say we invite every lien holder, these people with liens, we invite them to come to City Council. We send them emails, letters, texts, we call them. We need to do something about this. Herb Wesson was investigated for corruption, and now he's the president council. He's doing nothing. Most of these people getting these liens, excuse me, most of the people getting liens are African Americans. These 3 African Americans on this council, including Herb Wesson, doing nothing to help black people stay in their homes. Herb Wesson was investigated for corruption. We need to get these 3 niggas out of
not on subject.
black men to teach them how to represent black people. And every time I speak, you leave, Herb Wesson. But I'm going to get you off of that podium. You don't belong up there. You blocking speakers.
Now you're clearly off topic, ma'am. Way off topic. You are off topic. Thank you very much. Please have a seat.
The speaker
have a seat. Now you're disrupting the meeting. I've asked you to sit down, ma'am. Thank you very much.
City Attorney.
All right, Juan.
Am I next?
Stay on subject, please.
The subject is you're fucking the people.
Hey, that's not on subject. You're not on subject.
These liens
Stay
are
on subject.
Illegal. These liens are illegal. I know it. Look, 3,300. You are a homeless making institution. You are reaping the hard-earned houses from people. You put a lien on them and then you go sell them at auction to developers and people like that. You are a corrupt son of a bitch institution.
All right, not on subject. Thank you very much. That's going to be your final warning.
I hope your house is next, you big ear.
All right, thank you very much. All right. With that, we have no other cards. We'll go ahead and open the roll on those remaining items, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Thank you very much. Next item, please.
Mr. President, that brings council to general public comment.
Kirby Washington. I don't see him. Okay, thank you very much. Lizra Wilburn. No longer here. Michael, carry on. Oh. No.
See if I can get through this without being interrupted. There were 3 people here on time. Mr. Wesson, Mr. Harris Dawson, and Mr. Bonin. The rest of the city council was late. Mr. Englander with the Complejo came in 45 minutes late. And he sits up there like a dictator. Even Hitler was taller than him. People ask me, am I upset with Mr. Weezar? Not upset with him. I like the guy. But I won't take any more BS on the Soto Slope. If this is what it takes to get that done, I will be here until he shits in his pants. But I will continue to come back. And Mr. Englander got off the subject the other day when I was here. I think his feelings were hurt because he has a small man's complex. So, Mr. Englander, if you like a pair of high heels, I'll bring them to you next time.
You've been much more professional than this in the past. A whole new low for you, right? Okay, thank you very much. Thanks. Really appreciate it. All right, Jacqueline Richardson. No longer here. Sean Murphy. Oh, Jacqueline? Okay, come on up. Sean, hold on a sec. Jacqueline's here.
licenses. Some ladies in this city don't realize in order to be married, they need to get a marriage license from the government, that it costs $90. They have to have their information on themselves, their future husband, their mother, and their father. Some also don't realize if they have been married to someone in another state, another city, another country, they have to have a legal divorce from those people in order to marry the person they're thinking about marrying. If they have not divorced that person legally, they're still legally married to them, and they can't marry the person they're thinking about because that's bigamy. They also need to know if they want to stop this relationship, they have to get a legal divorce that takes money and time. That's what I'll have to repeat it another time because it's not really nice, but I'll try to put it in another form, a better form later. A lot of people don't realize that's true.
Thank you very much. Sean?
Yes, my predictions for 2016, Donald Trump will win the presidency. Hillary Clinton, no. She's a liar. She's not honest. The Kingdom Day Parade was fine. Very good. I enjoyed it. We need to fix our sidewalks, get our streets clean. That's what I want for 2016.
Okay, Mr. Walsh. And I guess we could have Miss McAllister walk her way up, and after that, Mr. Spindler. Mr. Walsh, the floor is yours.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Everybody, take a look at the front page of the LA Daily News, the banner headline. You can see it on the internet. Violent crime up by 50%. Oh, 50%. The city is out of control. Your chances of being killed on the street skyrocketing. And what do these 16 assholes, including the mayor, what are they interested in? Tree removal. I'm telling you, the Olympics, if you come here, you will be murdered. This is the murder capital of the world. Shot to death. Don't come here. Don't give the city of Los Angeles, or I should say Casey Wasserman, $1 billion. Broad is an asshole.
Okay, next.
When you deprive the people, you will have a lot of crime. That's why we have a lot of crime here. Mayor Garcetti, who is a Jew, claimed he spent $100 million on the homeless last year. That nigga is a lie. Where did the $100 million go when you got people laying all over the street, all races, black, white, except for the illegal aliens? They're the only ones with housing, it looks like, and the Jews. What's going on here? We need to get Herb Wesson out of here, Harris Dawson, and Price. We need some black people up in here that will stand up and speak for black people like I do. I'm not getting paid a dime for doing what I'm doing. And another thing, parking. Parking in this city is free on Sundays. Why do the Jews have parking meters on La Brea and Fairfax where their businesses are? Parking is free in this city. The Jews don't own this town. They don't own this nation. Parking is free. I've seen them sneaking, putting tickets on people's cars. They don't even know the meters are on Sunday. Turn those damn meters off and screw the Jews.
I'm not even going to respond. Mr. Spindler, Mr. Previn, Mr. Barajas.
Can the Oscars solve its race problem? No. Boycott the fucking Oscars. Don't give this fucking city any more money. Racist boycott. Because this city is ran by a Jew fucking conundrum of racist assholes that put liens on people's homes for no reason, that chop down their hedges, that go in the back of the meeting room like Koretz does and tries to give you faces. Fuck you in your face. And fuck the Oscars, because the Oscars don't belong here. Send them over to Russia. Don't have them here in Los Angeles because this city is racist. This is a racist Oscar. You buy a ticket, you're a racist. You watch it, you're a racist. You even fucking take and think about it, you're a racist. No on the Oscars and no on the Olympics. The city's too dangerous and too racist to hold anything. No on the Olympics.
Mr. Previn.
Thank you, Council President Wesson. It is Eric Previn from CD2. Today I have a small compliment for the LAPD, and I noticed Buscaino ran out. Oh, he's back. Good. Anyway, that is this. There was some discussion about whether or not it's appropriate in a law enforcement setting to spark a taser to gain compliance. For example, if Mr. Englander was upset that the guy was not moving and to get up to speak at the thing, he'd zap it once, and then the person might comply for fear of being tased. It turns out that that's an old school, kind of like cracking a whip technique that we do not use in modern era, but at LASD, though we did pay lawyers a lot of money to clean up our manual, that little nugget remains. So we are going to take care of that. I'm looking after that over at the county level. But to the credit of LAPD, they understood immediately when I inquired, guys, do you ever spark a taser to gain compliance? They said, no, Mr. Previn. This is a very serious tool. We use it as needed, and only a few people use it because it's sergeant level. It's not a tool we throw around lightly, which is why I wonder, why are we ordering 4,400 new tasers, sir? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Previn. Mr. Barajas, Mr. Marine, Mr. Akala.
All right. I think we seem to arrive at a sort of like a point, either we win or we all die. You've seen some of the chaos presented here by some of the audience. It's pretty chaotic. It's a mind that does not have any type of authority to speak of what to do about mankind as a whole. What they do and what the danger is they start to disintegrate, and they force people to disintegrate with them. The idea, in order to change that, is when members of the audience, and also as a reciprocal or reciprocity principle, it has to show on the other side of the aisle, so-called, they have to join. That is, those who speak the truth. If they do not, you're going to see things become even worse and worse.
Thank you. So, Henry, please, and then Mr. Akala, and then do I have an Ishmael Ariando or Aridando? Mr. Marine.
Yes, California Government Code 20283 shows that it is no longer prudent nor kosher for the educated descendants of Gentiles and Jews to publicly use the fruits of our labor as shown in ongoing MOUs, put your hands on a daily bread as shown on ongoing MOUs, and fail to make contributions to LACES, LACERA, and CalPERS as shown in California Government Code 20283, 20305. Now, the great Mike Fuhrer, he took our money for a long time. Now he's the city attorney, so we can't blame the deputy city attorney for Mike Fuhrer not accounting for our time and money as required by law. And we got all these attorneys here, Mr. Krikorian, and the other one, and Mr. District Counsel 9 with a Juris Doctorate degree, and officers of the court not doing their job.
Thank you, Mr. Marine. So if I could get Mr. Akala, followed by Ishmael Aridando. Yes, sir.
So we got all these PhDs here that don't really know shit about people, because you have neglected the people, you have driven them homeless, and you discriminate because you got more money than others. That's the biggest discrimination there is, when you have all these high pollutant people in Hollywood and everywhere else with millions of dollars, but you got the 99% of the people just barely able to survive and spending all their lives paying rent. I'm running for U.S. Congress, but what good will that do? There's a whole bunch of other white majority rulers. Donald Trump, put a pickle up your mouth and one up your ass. That's what you need.
Thank you, Mr. Alcala. Thank you. If I could get the next speaker, please come forward. Come on. Yes, sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ismael Arredondo from President of Argyle Civic Association. This is in regards to the property in 6220 Yaca Street. There are 45 units there. They want to demolish it to build a 35 building floor with 277 units and 68 and 1 units, one of the bedroom and 211 two bedrooms. The situation is the following. In that place live people who are retired, or they are low income, or they are military service. When you relocate them, you give them a chance not to go anywhere but to be homeless, some of them,